When I moved to Canton, many, many years ago, one of the first things I did is I bought a canoe. It was a heavy clunker made of God knows what, but I loved it. Got a ton of use. But that was around the time when Kevlar revolutionized the canoe and kayak world. So much lighter, still pretty sturdy, widely accessible by that time. Then came carbon fiber, and the whole game was changed. But North Country paddlers still love their wooden boats. Yes, they're heavy, but they're elegant. They slice through the water and they look beautiful. There used to be an Adirondack festival celebrating wooden boats, but it disappeared for a long time. Now, the No Octane Regatta is back. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Morja Wealth Management, serving the North Country for 3 generations. MorjaWM.com. Securities offered through Hightower Securities, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC. Hightower is an SEC-registered investment advisor. And Kinney Drugs, now offering specialized home medical equipment and supplies. Learn more at KinneyHomeCare.com.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Tuesday, July 8th. First up. Emergency medical services, or EMS, may soon be recognized as essential services in New York under a bill recently passed by the state legislature. NCPR news intern Noah Dinellendoser reports.
Unlike trash collection, law enforcement, and fire protection, emergency services are not required or mandated in New York. So, many North Country ambulance squads are made up of unpaid volunteers, and they rack up a lot of costs.
It's expensive to operate an ambulance. The equipment, things expire, batteries expire, AED pads expire, EpiPens expire. All that equipment is expensive.
That's Steve Stefano Jr. He's been a volunteer EMT in the Southern Adirondacks for over 20 years. He says they're constantly fundraising. Think Friday chicken dinners and car washes. And that takes away from the actual EMS work.
How much time am I spending fundraising? How much time am I spending training? How much time am I spending going on calls? It's a lot of hours.
A new bill recently passed by the New York State Legislature could relieve a lot of that financial pressure. If signed by Governor Kathy Hochul, it would require every county, city, town, and village in the state to establish a special tax district for emergency services and to make a plan on how to fund them. North Country State Senators Dan Steck and Mark Walczyk co-sponsored the bill. Lance Ronas is the founder of Indian River Ambulance Services in Jefferson County, which has volunteers and paid workers. He says he hopes the bill will mean local ambulances can pay a living wage to EMTs and paramedics.
They're walking into dangerous situations in cars and accidents and things like that. They're being verbally and physically assaulted on certain calls. These people are paid less than somebody that is doing ice cream, working at an ice cream shop for the summer.
He says it could also help offset one of the largest EMS expenses, billing insurance providers like Medicare or Medicaid for ambulance trips.
It costs an ambulance company $500 to roll the ambulance out to a call. Meanwhile, Medicare will give you maybe half of that, or maybe two-thirds of that back in revenue. So you've lost $200 just rolling the ambulance to the call.
Several areas in the state have already set up tax districts for emergency services, but this bill would mandate it across the state. It'll still be up to local areas how much to put towards EMS, but it's a serious step towards treating it as truly essential. For North Country Public Radio, this is Noah Dinellendoser in Canton.
A Texas company is considering building a $250 million dairy processing plant in Jefferson County. Southern Dairy says its proposed facility would source milk and whey from North Country dairy farms to produce its own products like milk powder, whey protein concentrate, and infant formula. The Watertown Daily Times reports the company is looking at 40 acres of land on Outer Massey Street to build the 300,000 square foot plant. If approved by the town planning board, Southern Dairy says it would create 80 jobs. 2 weekends ago, wooden boat lovers gathered in Blue Mountain Lake for the revival of the No Octane Regatta. It was sponsored by the Adirondack Lakes Center for the Arts after a nearly 2-decade-long hiatus. Amy Feiereisel was there and has the story.
There's a sandy beach behind the former Potter's Resort, which is the new home of the Adirondack Lakes Center for the Arts. Pulled up on its shore are about 30 wooden watercraft, everything from wooden canoes and kayaks to Adirondack guideboats to a Rushton pleasure rowboat. I'm standing on the water's edge with Hallie Bond, one of the original organizers of the No Octane Regatta, which ran from 1991 to 2006 and was sponsored by the Adirondack Museum.
I thought, wouldn't it be fun to have a regatta that took its inspiration from the early American Canoe Association regattas, which the American Canoe Association started in 1880 on Lake George. And they used to do all sorts of funny races.
They also used a cannon to start the races, so there's one here today. That is the cutest, tiniest cannon I've ever seen in my life.
You know, it's actually a regulation starting cannon. You know, regatta starting cannon. There are such things, yes.
Okay, on your mark, get set.
Oh my gosh!
This is the start of one of those old funny races. It's called the dump race. Participants have to tip themselves and their boats into the water halfway through when the cannon goes off again.
It's an out and back race, and now they're all around the buoy. Pat is waiting for the bang. He should just be rowing. And they're
okay. They're all in the water.
Yeah, and now they try to climb in. Oh, look, Emmett is back in that great big EMY. Go, Emmett!
70-year-old Pat Brown is the official winner. Brown is a well-known guideboat builder who works on Upper Chase Lake near Lowville. He vividly remembers the first time he rowed a guideboat.
I got an opportunity, an old man that used to take me fishing. He had an original Adirondack guideboat that was built in 1906. And I'd always ever rowed just real clunky, crummy boats, heavy ones. And I'd never rowed a nice boat before. And after about 5 pulls on the oars, it was like, this is magical. And I got hooked.
And he wants to share that feeling with others. He urges people to give his guideboat a try throughout the day. Sharing is a big part of this event. Tim Samsel is checking out the guideboats, carrying a little notebook with scribbles and contact info he's gathered today. This is his first No Octane Regatta. He lives in Colorado but comes to the Adirondacks for a few weeks each summer.
It's very inspirational. I'm inspired to build one. Yeah, I want to get at it.
Safe to say, everyone here is a boat person and can wax poetic. Sherry Nemmers grew up in Blue Mountain Lake and feels a deep connection to wooden boats.
No gas, no octane, messing about. Just the sheer joy and beauty of them. They are gorgeous to look at. They move so gracefully through the water most of the time. But, you know, what's not to love about a wooden boat?
And there are a lot of chances to see them in action today. Ian Hay competes in almost every race. He's another old-timer who's not so old. His family came up for the original regattas starting before he was born.
There's really not anything else like it. There's big boat regattas and boat shows where people put them out on the lawn, but the opportunity to get out in boats, try other people's boats, take notes. There's a unfortunate stuffiness in boating, and this is not about that.
Hay is prepping for the last race of the day, which is a sailing race. He's in the process of rigging his rowboat into a sailboat.
It's got a single mast, single sail, and it's really a much better rowboat than it is a sailboat. And it's been sort of in an experimental stage all of its life, so you're going to have to bear with me.
He puts the mast into a hole and starts rigging the sails.
There we go, and then there's a little pocket that it goes into. There.
5 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
5 minutes.
The real race is going to be seeing if I can get this rigged in time to actually participate.
While he rigs away, I hop on the one very octane boat here today, a large pontoon nicknamed Pontiki. It's the safety boat. Tom Warrington, longtime resident of Blue Mountain Lake, is the captain.
We are setting up the starting line for the sailing race, which is a little more involved than the paddling and rowing races because we have to. The starting line should be perpendicular to the wind direction. So there's a buoy about a quarter mile up there. We're going to set a line across this way.
I see.
We'll be one end of the starting line and the buoy will be the other end.
Okay. I'll spoil the ending for you because sailing races are a little slow and very quiet. Ian Hay did get his rowboat rigged in time and sailed off behind some rather sleeker canoe sailboats. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio on Blue Mountain Lake.
We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Evan Veenstra of Gananoque, Ontario, and the Fiddlers 3 of Redwood, New York. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.